Hi, this is John Ondo from Marketing Media and Cupcakes. And before we get into today's episode, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. We're back after being gone for over 4.5 years. And I hope you get a chance to listen to episode 77, where we explain why we were gone for so long and that we're back for at least 3 more episodes. Angel and I are big supporters of entrepreneurship, and we love small businesses and faith-based businesses. And we just want to encourage you through our podcast each week. What's going to determine if we continue with more episodes will be the response. Subscribe to us on your platform. Send us an email at john@ondomedia.com. That would help us know you're listening and you want more episodes. So thank you so much, and let's get into today's episode.
How much editing are you going to have to do to this thing?
I don't know. I always record more than we need. So
Well,
This is going to be something.
we hope so.
Yeah, really.
This is the small business podcast that is sweeter than all the rest. Marketing, media, and cupcakes.
This is episode 12 of Marketing, Media, and Cupcakes. I am John Ondo, along with my beautiful wife, Angel.
Hi there.
And we have we're going to have a lot of fun on this episode because we have probably the most fun people we know.
Oh, yes.
Aw.
I can't even right now.
Terry and Renee Dismore are our guests today.
Yay! Let's hear it for 'em.
Yay!
Hey, excuse me just a moment. A point of order, sir.
Yes.
This is Marketing, Media, and Cupcakes, correct?
That's the sign on the door.
I'm just looking at something. Do you see any cupcakes?
Nope. Don't
Any
see a
cupcakes
one.
anywhere? What's
Well,
the deal?
nope.
Well,
Yeah.
you obviously are blind because they're upstairs on the counter,
Oh,
sir.
I see.
They are uniced currently, but that's another story. But they are upstairs.
We thought they would be down here.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
No, because
Yes.
then you would eat them while we're trying to do a podcast.
Well, that's true, and that might not sound very good.
That would
No.
be fun. So,
Yeah.
So we are a podcast about small business, for small business, by small business, and Terry and Renee, outside of also being great friends, they also have a small business. So we're going to talk about some different things regarding their small business. And but first of all, we're going to do something a little different. Normally, Angel gives a baking tip for our show, but I'm going to let Renee, who does the we'll explain in a second what she does. You'll kind of figure it out. But you are a master chef.
Oh, well, thank you.
So tell us a tip. Give us a tip on the podcast
That
today.
20 was worth something, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it
It
was.
sure was. Well, I'm known as the hospitality queen,
Yes.
and my heart is hospitality and treating people like I always wanted to be treated. And so for my tip today, I would say, don't wait till you think you have everything you need to show hospitality, like the big house or the beautiful things. Hospitality really just comes down to loving people.
Oh.
So take
Yes.
that time to invite somebody to come over, even if it's just a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or meeting somebody for a Coke. That's hospitality. But take the time. Life is too short to not take time to sow into people's lives and spend time with those that you love. And it's a lot of fun. And then you can think about the other things. You know, I love having people in our home. I love showing them. Most people, yes.
There's one people.
Yeah.
we-
that's
But we
right.
won't talk about them.
No.
You do these. You always did these, and I think you still do these tea parties.
Yes.
Which is very cool. It's kind of Southern fun, and it's neat.
It is.
So give me for somebody who's like, okay, this is a great idea. Why are you all laughing at me?
I was snoring.
He was snoring, and it was quite funny.
Okay, well, tell me like a tip. It's like maybe you can't do a tea party. What's another way that you get? Because I think people do like to have an excuse, to come over. What's a good thing for people just as like, okay, I'm going to try this.
Okay. Well, do what we just did upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Get out some cheese, some crackers, a little bit of fruit, maybe some jam or jelly. Anything simple. You don't have to make it a 5-star dinner, a 12-course meal or anything like that. What you have on hand, just get it out and start sharing it. You had some leftover chicken that you barbecued. It was delicious. It was fun. We just raided the fridge and the cabinet and the pantry, and we had a really nice little meal.
It was lovely.
Yes, it
great.
was.
I'm very full.
You don't need to, don't put your time and energy into what you're making or what you're putting out. Your focus should be those that you're having the time with. That's what's most important.
That's a great tip. And actually, it really ties into small business because it's about building relationships
Yes.
and talking with people. So I'm a small business owner. I have a media company called Ondo Media. Angel has a full-time gig being a customer service guru with a big company, but she has a side business, which is making cupcakes here at home, and she does a great job. So what do you guys do?
Well, my business is Snacks with a Twist, and our tagline is "We put a smile on your sweet tooth." We also throw a little smile in there for your savory tooth, also with some of our pretzels that we have. We have gourmet flavored pretzels, and then we also have different kinds of candy bark. Ours is creamy instead of hard, and where I blend all the chocolate and the peanut butter mixtures and stuff. So it's not, you're not biting into something really hard other than, the almonds or the peanuts.
Now, how long have you been doing this now? When did this start?
I started a pretzel business 5.5 years ago. And then we launched, just a year ago, we launched the candies. And we also have a small line of spreads and dips.
Oh, my God.
Like
They're
our
the best ever.
Pineapple habanero spread and our pepper and onion relish and a cheddar ranch.
We'll tell everybody about her website because you must check it out. It's
And we did, and I did the videos for it.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
did.
did.
That's a little self-promotion.
We have Emmy
Yes.
Award-winning videos on our website.
There
And
you
he
go.
did all the food pictures, which made it so easy for us because they just look great.
Well, now let's talk about the obvious thing. If you haven't figured this out, listening is that Terry and Renee are obviously married and married a lot longer than the businesses. So, Terry, tell me a little bit about you. You're a business guy. You're a consultant. You're a broadcaster. That
Right.
brought our paths together. When this started, this small business started kind of becoming something percolating.
Yeah.
How did that work, and what was your involvement?
Well, and the small business that I do myself, I call it prosper leadership. And what we teach people to do is how to lead and prosper at the same time. Sometimes people aren't very good at both.
Yes.
We like to help people find their why. And as a matter of fact, my tagline is I make my clients cry. Because most of the time when I talk to somebody, they cry because they're like, I never realized that before. Never thought about that before. And so Nay and I were talking a few years ago. I'm in another business that I work in is consulting for car dealerships, and I travel a lot. Nay decided she wanted to have a business of her own at home, and she had a flavor of pretzels that everybody loved. I'm like, why don't we bag those? She came to me and said, I want to do that. So we'd tried a couple of other things before, and we came to the realization that if this is a principle for small business, if you're going to be a small business, you have to know your cost so that you know when it's profitable. If you don't know your cost, you basically have a hobby that might bring some cash in. And so we went through and did our costs. So we had I don't know, I've got a spreadsheet that's like every ingredient that we use, how much it goes into each one, and then I divided it out. That's not something that I know how to do that. Not everybody knows how to do that, but it's like with you, Angel, we were talking about this a while ago.
Yes.
We need to sit down with you, or I need to sit down with you for free because you got great cupcakes.
Thank you.
And figure out your costs. I've got a spreadsheet that'll help us do that, and we'll knock it out and be like, oh, what's your individual, what's your best one? Red Velvets?
Yes.
What's your individual Red Velvets
That's what's
cost?
on the counter right now.
See, that's
Snickers.
what I thought.
the
And we like your
Snickers.
Snickers.
Those are
We-
Renee's favorite.
Yes.
So we see all that and we look, okay, what does it cost? So most people think that if something costs them $1 and they sell it for $2, they're profitable.
Right.
No,
50%. You think that's
not
good
generally.
profit? Yeah.
Generally, you want to take your cost and double it when you become profitable. At least that's a rule of thumb. But if you don't know what your cost is, you're guessing. And then John mentioned a while ago, and I thought it was a good question, what's your time cost? And
that's where I've always struggled, to be honest, because I have a full-time job.
Right.
And I've actually taken time off from my full-time job, taken vacation time to come home and bake. And so after an 18-hour day of baking,
yeah,
I go, did I really?
You made $50.
Was it really worth it at the end of the day?
and chances are early on, no.
Yeah.
You're not making any money, but you're also taking everything that you make and you're bringing it back into the business.
Okay.
And so that's okay going in. But if you continue that way, then you can never, and your desire may not be to have employees ever, but you can never bring in somebody as an employee. Now, There's a difference between being profitable and being prosperous,
Yes.
because prosperous means that your profits are generating more profits.
Well,
Okay.
let me pause you for a second, because I think something else, and we talked about this earlier, I'd like you to talk about is, as you two discussed starting your business, you asked her a very important question about the cost and what
Yeah.
that would ultimately. So tell me about that.
Well, I said if you want to be profitable, you have to know your cost. If you don't want to be profitable, now you've got a hobby, and you just tell me how much money you need.
And I think that's an important point that I think a lot of small business owners are struggling with, because if you, again, I'm thinking of all the different people I know: wedding photographers, wedding video people, people like myself who do video production, bakers, carpenters. You're good at it. You maybe did it under the table for a little while,
Right.
made a little extra money, but you enjoyed doing it. But now you're sitting back and you have to make a decision. Is this a hobby? And I remember it was one of our funnier moments with a former tax accountant who said, well, John, is this your hobby? And I was
so embarrassed. I
well,
could have cried.
because my numbers weren't that great.
Right.
I've been doing it for 25 years. I've got Emmys and all that. And it's like, is this a hobby? And I'm like, no, it's not a hobby. My life depends on
Yeah.
this job. But the whole point of it is, though, I do think you have to have that wake-up call to say, is this something I'm just doing on the side? And you can have a business and not make a lot of money on it. It's something you'll enjoy doing or giving your time. But I do think if you're going to make money, it is a jump off of into a deeper pool.
Oh, definitely. And also for like me, getting into stores or selling to corporations and stuff, you have to know your costs really well so that you can offer the products wholesale,
Right.
So having that and knowing what that costs and knowing what you're doing. And so I have it's steady. I don't make the pretzels different every time. I make
Right.
them exactly the same. The same formula, the same blend.
Mostly the same packaging.
And mostly the same packaging too. And so that way I don't have to wonder, am I making money from this? So I know my costs, so I know what I can sell wholesale and make money.
So, Nate, when you were first starting to go into stores, were you looking at what else was out there? Were you looking to see what are they selling these things for? Like, because that's my problem. I don't have anybody, quote unquote, like that I can find, like myself. So I look at the stores and I look at what they're selling stuff for. So I'm like, well, I can't sell it for that because that's too much and they've got this and that and I don't have all that. So how did you come up with where you decided to land in pricing?
Well, I did a lot of research ahead of time, and I went in and I talked with different people, such as the lady that runs the snack department at Morgan House, Michelle. And
It's a small little kind of a restaurant, snacky, niche kind of place here.
Well, I call it Disneyland for women.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
All right.
With a great restaurant.
Yeah, it's a place you and I, John, could go in and literally spend minutes in there.
Well, you
Where
would
are the hot wings? Okay.
They
we'll see
don't
you
have
later.
any.
Goodbye.
They have
Across
none.
the street.
Yeah, across the street, yes.
It's a Mexican place across the street. That's where I go in.
Yes.
So talking to her, and I was traveling with Terry at the time because I really wasn't doing anything a whole lot. I mean, I was doing a lot of volunteer work and an occasional event and stuff, and I wanted to get out of doing big events, period. I was done. It's just so much work. And unless you have your own venue, it is it's a lot when you're filling your car up and somebody else's car up, maybe 2 or 3 other people's cars up when you're doing a big event. So I wanted to get out of that. And
you were making cash, but you weren't making profit
no,
because it was too much time.
yes, it's a lot of time. So I asked God for, I did. I prayed. I said, I want a great idea, a creative idea, and I want it to be really easy. I don't need to reinvent anything. I just want to do something that will be fun, and I will find it fun. So the next thing I know, I have all these people coming up and going, hey, those spicy pretzels you made for my birthday, or you made for this event, or you gave to me because I came over and helped you decorate for Christmas. You ought to sell them. I mean, dozens of people. I went, oh, okay. I guess that's my my idea.
Ding, ding, ding. There's your thing.
Yes, and then I only had the one flavor, and so I prayed for ideas. I woke up one morning a few months later, knew exactly how to make cinnamon pretzels.
Cinnamon.
And
They're so good.
and then a month later, same thing with the ranch, the Zesty Ranch. And as I researched, talked to people, I got an idea. This is how much I should sell these for, and they sold. They sold very well. We kind of took the pretzel business down last year due to a kitchen situation, and now we're launching them back. But we also shrunk the flavors.
And we've talked about that too with cupcakes, that sometimes offering too much is, well, offering a wide selection is too much, and you end
Correct.
up making more money if you can just, and I go back to, it's the Chipotle principle that you have two choices of meats.
Right.
Don't over choice things, because I think it ends up, you have to have that stuff in stock, and it costs you money, it costs you time, and you don't sell it all.
Well, and that's kind of like what Toys R Us did and why they went out of business. They had all the toys.
Who's Toys R Us? What was that?
Toys Were Us.
Yeah.
They had all the toys. Well, what Walmart did, not unwisely, was they studied what they sold and they took the top. The 80-20 principle works in a lot of areas. That
Right.
80% of what you make money on is 20% of the items. And so they figured out what that was, and they started carrying them in their stores, and it killed Toys R Us's business, because now you go into Toys R Us for the third line of Hot Wheels, or the 14th line of Barbie dolls or something, but you wouldn't go in there to get what everybody wanted. The same way with Renee and I talked extensively about cutting down on the number of pretzels. Okay, so because we had the spreadsheet, we now know this is what we sold the most of, and we sold of our 7 different flavors of pretzels. Now, some of them are seasonal, so we know they're not going to sell all year.
Right.
But of the 7 different flavors of pretzels, one of them sold 40%.
Well, there
Wow.
you go.
So that's the one we want to do most of, and then we'll take a couple of the others and make those. But now we're able to really concentrate on that.
Sure.
Not to make them better. They're going to be the same pretzel, but it also cuts your costs, because now you can buy more seasoning that we need. We can buy more pretzels that we need.
Because that's what you're going to make.
Well, and the other thing, this was a key that we had to learn, and it was a difficult lesson to learn. So we had one vendor that supplied our pretzels. And I'll tell you who it was. It was Sam's Club. We bought Sam's Club pretzels and made pretzels with them.
Okay.
And flavored them, and she rebaked them. So it's not just like we're sprinkling something on and putting them in a bag. They're
Right.
rebaked, and it's more complicated than that. But it was January, I think, 2 years ago. We needed 100 pounds of pretzels for an order. And so went to Sam's Club to buy half a pallet of pretzels, which is what we normally went in and got. Well, we're out. Oh, well, does anybody else have any? The only people within 150 miles that had 100 pounds of pretzels was Sam's Club in Nicholasville, Kentucky. And I happened to be in Cincinnati that day, so I drove another hour and a half and picked up a carload of pretzels. So what that taught us was, don't ever have one supplier.
Correct.
If you've got, now yours is a little different because you buy flour,
Yep.
and you can buy flour anywhere.
You bet.
But there are certain ingredients that you have, that's what I want. Exactly what I need, this type of vanilla.
Yep.
I didn't know that there were 18 kinds of vanilla before, but there's
So many.
and Nay and I found out there are 6 different kinds of commonly processed cinnamon, and they all taste a little different. It's like, what?
And that throws your quality off. When
It
you,
does.
Yeah.
And we had a kitchen that was experimenting with our recipes. No, we experiment with our recipes.
Colonel
You've gotta
Sanders
have-
doesn't let that happen.
No.
No.
And you know what happened to him?
Yeah, he's now
sold
being
out.
played by everybody on
Yeah,
TV.
ain't that the
We
truth?
don't want that anymore.
But anyway, that's kind of where we went with that whole costing thing, and it was a little struggle for us, because your assumption is, well, I'm bringing in more money than I put out, so I'm making a profit. No, that's not true. That's not true. You're just having positive cash flow. There's a difference between positive cash flow and profit.
What is that difference?
Well, positive cash flow just means you have more money coming in than you had going out. But to be profitable, you have to actually be making money. So a business in and of itself isn't just bringing in more cash. It is having that cash help you earn more cash.
Okay.
So you want your money to work for your money, so that I'm not always, in our case right now, we're still in the investing stage on certain things. So we still have to invest in labels and all this kind of stuff. But there comes a day when we've got enough surplus income there that we just go out and buy $10,000 worth of what we need, and we have it, and we let it go through that way. Right now, and there was a time, and just to be frank with you, there was a time I went into another business for a while that I don't even like to talk about, but I was in the insurance business for a while. And it's one of those that you can't see this on the podcast, but I'm twitching as we speak.
Yes, I can see it.
And I didn't like it. And there was a time when things were really low, and some people that I went into business with didn't do what they said they were going to do, and we didn't have any income, so we were living off the pretzel money. So we would get $75 for a batch of pretzels and go out and spend it on another batch of pretzels. That's not a business.
No.
Although we had cash flow from it.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's more the whole concept of thriving, not just surviving, which
Yes.
I think a lot of us in small business deal with. We're talking with Terry and Renee Dismore, who are small business. It's now Nays Snacks, right?
Snacks with a twist.
Snacks with a twist. And it used to be pretzels with a twist, and now snacks with a twist, because they're enlarging the vision and everything. So I guess one of the questions I have, and I know I struggle with this in media production because I have equipment, I have expenses, but really when it comes down to it, the major thing I'm looking for is how much am I getting paid per hour, because it's an hourly rate, no different if you were an attorney or an accountant or anything else. And that's a hard thing to figure out, because you do want to say, I want to make this much a year. And now and that's how I did it. I basically said, I went to a month. I said, this is what my income really should be if I was working for someone else at a fair rate, and kind of figured out by hour how much time I work, knowing that some meetings, I'm in meetings, I'm doing things that are not profitable. So I think I figured out of a typical month, the available time, a little better than half of it I could spend working, making money. The rest of it was R&D and billing and stuff you don't make money on.
Right.
Tell me, again, for people who are sitting back saying, okay, I'm going to have to leave my job or maybe go part-time, how do I divide that up? How do I figure the costs of my my salary, for lack of a better words?
Well, I think the first thing you do is figure out how much you need to make. The problem that people get in with that is it becomes a cap instead of a floor.
Gotcha.
And so you think, well, I need to make $100,000 a year. Let's pretend that's the number. So
It's
how
a good
much?
number.
It is a good number. And I used to think that $100,000 a year was a good amount of money. It is.
Until you start paying taxes on it.
Well, the thing about it is, if you've got a good tax attorney or good tax advisor, $100,000 a year is a good amount of money. However, it becomes a floor because you get a picture in your mind of what $100,000 looks like. You're like, nobody else I know makes $100,000. But I'll give you an example for the car dealership consulting that I do. I've averaged $120,000 a year bringing in for that. However, there's a cost to that. So the cost of that is almost 37% on average. So now I don't have a $120,000 income. I have about a $60,000 income plus taxes. Right. So don't set yourself too low. So what I would suggest, if somebody says this is what my salary needs to be, double it. Now that's a good floor. That's a good place to start. And then figure out, okay, how much work do I have to do for an average hourly rate to do that? Now, you said to yourself to me, that was an odd turn of phrase, wasn't it?
I'd like to know how we did that,
You said yourself to me the other day, John, off the air, that you were told you weren't charging enough.
Right.
So my mentor was a consultant. He charges $3,000 a day, and he doesn't charge any expenses. And I asked him, I said, okay, Olin, why? Why don't you charge expenses? And he said, well, there's a good reason for that. Is if I charge expenses, they decide where I stay, what I drive, and how I fly.
Yeah.
If I charge over what I think I'm kind of worth, like he's probably worth $2,500 a day, now I can spend that money on what he wants. I do the same thing with the car dealership thing. I charge a flat rate or a percentage of some of the work that I do. We help them bring in money. It's the same with Nay's business. Is you've got to decide. Right now, we're not looking at this as an income replacement thing. Right. We made an agreement years ago when my wife when you were sick, we made the agreement that we wouldn't rely on any income from Nay ever again. Okay. Well, there's a problem in that. Is that's the cap now.
Sure.
So now it's like, no, I need you to make some money. I want her to make as much as she wants to. And it's not because we need it.
Right.
It's because if you're going to be in business, somehow in our culture, being wealthy has gotten a bad rap.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started on that one, but that's true.
But what's the difference between being rich and being wealthy?
Exactly.
So the difference between being rich and poor is a matter of what's in your bank account.
Yep.
The matter between being wealthy and poverty-stricken is in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people, and poverty is the fear of lack. And so if you set your floor too low and you make it, can I give one more example of that?
I think you can.
Okay. Well, may I give one more example?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
for
that.
asking permission.
You're welcome. But when I was starting out in the radio business, I decided that by the time I was 30, now I was 16 at the time. I started when I was 15, so I was probably 15 at the time. I decided that I wanted to be a full-timer on the #1 radio station in the city of Louisville, because that's where we lived, and I listened to this particular station all the time, and I wanted to be there. So that was my goal. My thinking behind that was what most of you are thinking right now. That is, well, that's a pretty good goal. And if you don't make it, you've had a good career.
Right.
Well, you know what the problem with that is? I made it. So that became the floor instead of the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And for years, I struggled after that with having a better ceiling. And these are the things that Renee and I have talked about in helping other people grow their businesses is we realize that Snacks with a Twist, we believe Snacks with a Twist will be a very profitable and fairly large business with a venue at some point. And we've started out with that idea. We didn't start out with the idea of I'd like to make an extra $100 a week.
And that's, you just said a thing.
You just said
in my world,
you
said a thing because in my full-time job, my goal for several years was to finally become the trainer.
Yeah.
And when I finally got to be the trainer, and then I was the trainer for 9 years, then I was asked to do something else. I've spent another 12 years trying to figure out what is it I'm supposed to be doing. Now I'm back to being the trainer again because of different things. But it literally, I sat there, I'm like, I finally did it because that was the goal.
Right.
And then what? And so I think that's where the fear, because we were talking a little bit about fear the other day. And I think that's a good thing to bring up. I'm afraid to say what I think Angel's Custom Cupcakes could be. I've said to you earlier, Terry, I don't want a storefront.
Yeah.
It scares me.
Yeah.
I don't want employees. That scares me. So to your point, I have already set to some degree my bar of I just want to make a couple extra $100.
And if that's all right with you, that's fine.
If that's where I want to be, then that's where it's going to be.
And that's still a small business. You can't deny that. But what you can't see, a lot of people, Nadie, I haven't let you talk for a long time.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Well, I think I'm going to make you guys come back next week and talk about more of this. So, but you had to finish your thought.
No, what I wanted to say is a plan B is always your plan.
Okay.
Plan B is always your plan. If you want to talk about that next week, that'd be a good topic.
We can get into that. So let me review a few things. First of all, before we get any further, give us the website because people want these pretzels and snacks, I can tell right now.
It's www.snacksbynay.com.
And you can find out everything she's got going on there. And just recapping from the notes I'm taking here, here's the big thing that and Terry can correct me. But first of all, know your cost. Second of all, is this business a hobby or is it for profit? Is it going to be a real, moneymaker? Another suggestion he said, or a good tip, is be careful that you're not getting all your supplies from one supplier because when they go out of business suddenly, you are up the creek.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, all they did was, as a corporation, make a decision. We're not carrying pretzels anymore.
Yeah,
So we're up fecal material estuary without a propulsion device.
Absolutely. And then the other thing, when you're setting your profit, you got to look at the fact is this the floor or is this the ceiling? And I think as Casey Kasem would say,
shoot for the stars and keep your feet. I don't remember
either.
Oh, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Well, we want to encourage you. If you want to email us, john@ondomedia.com is the email we're using. And you guys will be back next week. We're going to continue this discussion.
Okay, if we have to.
Yes, we could.
So we'll twist my arm.
We will book a room in the biggest hotel next door, and we'll have them back, and then we will continue. So until then, this is John and Angel, and keep living the dream.
Connect with John and Angel via Facebook and Instagram and let us know your thoughts. Marketing, Media, and Cupcakes is a production of Ondo Media.